Johnny.
I'm Ashley. And where's Gabriel?
Welcome to our channel, Living La Vida Lopez.
Today's video, we're actually going to be talking about kind of going off of our Q&A on some of the most asked questions, which had to do with pregnancy, labor, delivery.
Yeah.
As we promised, we're going to be making that video today for you guys. And yeah.
So a little bit just to tell you guys about where Gabriel's at. He's actually sleeping right now. He definitely is knocked out. He's very tired. He just had his 2-month shots today, so he's just very not into it right now.
But he is definitely a trooper. I'm going to insert a video so you guys can see. He is all smiles and laughs, but he did just knock out and eat. So he's been doing pretty good so far. So the first part we're going to kind of start off with is how we found out we are pregnant.
We're pregnant?
No, we're not anymore. Oh, goodness. The way that we found out we were pregnant is actually a little bit of a funny story. So Kendall, if you're watching this, what's up? Kendall and I go to the same school, and we have literally the same exact schedule. So we would commute together to school. It's only a 15-minute drive from here. And every day on the way home, I get really, really bad car sickness.
It's unreal.
It's literally the worst thing ever. It's horrible. But anyways, so I would get really bad car sickness on the way home, and I was like, Kendall, like, you seriously need to learn how to drive. Like, I'm getting so car sick, and I don't get car sick. And she's like, yes, you do. And so it was just a whole thing for a whole week. And then the next week she was like, okay, you're annoying me. You just need to take a pregnancy test because I feel like you're pregnant. And I was like, there's no way. I was like, but I'll take one, whatever. So we went and got one, and I went and took it, and I put it upside down. We were actually going to go meet Johnny and his sister to go eat at El Fogón, their family restaurant here. Before we went to El Fogón to go eat, she was like, oh wait, you forgot to check the pregnancy test. So I went back. I was like, oh shoot, I totally forgot. I put it upside down because not thinking it would be positive. So I went back, go check, and it was positive. I just dropped to the floor, started crying, and she thought I was joking. Like, she realized that I was joking. And I was like, no, it's like pregnant. I gave it to her, and she was like, oh. And so I was pregnant, and so I called Johnny, and Johnny was already with his sister at the restaurant, and I was like crying. I was like, can you talk? Can you step outside? I need to talk to you. And he was like, yeah, give me a sec. So he stepped outside, and I told him, I just took a pregnancy test and I'm pregnant. He was like, okay, well, we'll talk about it later. Hung up on us, and that was that. And we talked about it later, and everything was all good.
I can definitely say I was thrown off guard. I didn't fully process it until I went back into the restaurant and sat down. And I was just looking around, very distraught, and I'm like, wait, did I just hear what I think I just heard? And I was like, is she pregnant? For real?
Hey, I'm gonna be a dad.
I was like, it was just very, it's not that it was an emotional point right there in the, like, at that moment. It's just so surreal. Like, you just don't think ever that it will happen to you, and then you find out, and it was a cool feeling, but at the same time, it's just very, like, what?
Shocking. You don't think at 22 years old you're gonna be. And after we found out we were pregnant, obviously we made our first appointment with our OBGYN, and we had that, what was it, I think, when I found out, we had the appointment about 2 or 3 weeks later. When we went in, we found out we were 8 weeks and 5 days, and I was so shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually pregnant. Like, it hit me. I was like, this can't be real. I was like throwing up and everything, and I'm like, this still can't be real. I'm just sick. And no, I'm just pregnant.
Yeah, I think the funniest part throughout, this pregnancy as well was getting to tell our parents. Even though some of my sisters both knew prior to telling my parents. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I think it was just telling them. I was coming from a Mexican home. I'm just like, man, my parents are gonna kick my butt. I was like, what is gonna happen? And whenever Ashley and I went to go to my parents' house and let them know, like, hey, we're having a baby, it was very awkward, to say the least. We kept on looking at each other. We sat on opposite couches, and she was just like, so are you gonna tell them? My mom's like, alright, it's gonna be one of two things. It can be you guys are breaking up, or you guys are having a kid. It's the second one, we're having a kid. And my dad's like, I knew it. I knew it.
Funniest part probably before I found out I was pregnant though is I was laying in bed and I was in so much pain, and I'm a hypochondriac 100%. I'm always looking at my symptoms no matter what it is. It's horrible. And my legs were hurting me so bad, so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, like restless legs. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? So I looked it up, restless legs, can't sleep, don't feel good, like nauseous. And I looked it up and it was fibromyalgia. It was the only thing that popped up. And I was like, oh my God, Johnny. I was like, I have freaking fibromyalgia. And he was like, oh my God, are you Googling your symptoms again? I'm like, yes, but I think this is for real. Like, fibromyalgia isn't curable. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, seriously, stop looking up, like, your symptoms. And then a week later, we found out I was pregnant. He was like, yeah, so fibromyalgia? So it's kind of funny now. Anytime we go back to being pregnant, we always think, like, oh, you had fibromyalgia. If you ever think you do, you might just be pregnant. So telling my mom and dad actually was completely different because they obviously live on the opposite side of the country. So we're in the middle, obviously, but they're in California. So I called my mom. Called my mom and I told her, and when I told my mom, I just started crying. Because I always used to joke and say, oh, I'm pregnant, and she's like, okay, really, what's going on? And so this time I was like, I have something to tell you. And she was like, what? And I was like, please don't be mad. And she's like, okay, actually, come on, I'm working, what? And I was like, but you really can't be mad. And she's like, okay, just tell me what's up and we'll go from there. And I was like, I'm pregnant. And she's like, really, Ashley, that's when you called me to tell me? And I was like, I'm serious. She's like, all right, I don't have time for this, but I'll call you in a little bit and I'll talk to you in a little bit. And I was like, no, Mom, I'm pregnant. And she's like, say you swear. I was like, I swear, Mom, I'm pregnant. And I just started crying. I was like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, why are you sorry? She's like, I'm gonna have a grandbaby. So excited. And my dad actually was really excited too. I thought both my parents I thought would be pretty ticked off. But both my parents and his parents were like, as long as you finish school, you know, as long as you make school a priority and all that good stuff.
Definitely, it's scary telling parents. It's just, it just comes with pregnancy. I mean, with life, with pregnancy, proposals, I mean, it all comes very scary sometimes. Even though it isn't, it's just simply asking and letting people know, like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what we want to do, this is what's happening. It sometimes makes you feel like you're in a movie, like you expect the worst of worst. But at the end of the day, it's just telling them. It was awesome. Glad to hear that both of our parents were on our side, supporting us with everything, and it's just a blessing knowing that they're there for us.
Getting on to the pregnancy part of my actual pregnancy, I feel like my pregnancy was awesome. Like, everything about it was everything I could have hoped and dreamed for a pregnancy. The only thing was probably that in my first trimester alone, and only my first trimester, I was super, super, super nauseous, like all the time. And I had to try and figure out what worked for me. And honestly, the only thing that worked for me was either sleep or ginger ale. And I drank so much ginger ale. I still drink a lot of ginger ale because I drank so much when I was pregnant.
Unreal.
Other than that, I don't think that I really had any pregnancy cravings.
I beg to differ. So I think one of your biggest cravings of all was probably Taco Bell. And I don't know why. I think it was just the greasiness of the food,
But then it made me super sick after.
I know. That's why I didn't get it. So I think one thing you really craved the most was mamon sopa.
Honestly, yeah. That was honestly something I probably ate almost every other day to every day.
I think it was closer towards the middle end of your pregnancy that it was more of like, hey Johnny, you think you can have your mom come over and show us how to make it so we're not always bugging her about making it?
And I felt so bad. For my pregnancy, everything was awesome, honestly. My mom was over there sending us things from Amazon all the time. It was awesome. We get a package every week. It was all for Gabriel. She sent me a couple things. She sent me a huge body pillow. Oh my God, that was the best thing.
For those of you guys that are pregnant, I would definitely say, and I don't even know why I'm telling you guys this, I think it was just more because I have back problems from time to time. I would ask Ashley if she'd let me use it. Anyways, getting back to my point, 100% I would recommend the product to any of you guys that are watching, whether you're pregnant or not, or just facing back problems. I think it It works a ton.
We're gonna link that down below for you guys. My mom actually got it for us as a gift, and so I mean, it is. I think it's like $50, something like that.
I can't
But
remember.
honestly, that body pillow is one of the best body pillows that we have ever used. If you are pregnant, have back problems, anything like that, I recommend this body pillow. Everything was great. The last month, as most moms know, the last month is literally the longest month ever. You can't thank him enough. Like, he was literally a God-sent angel while I was pregnant. And I wasn't like super, no, I was moody. I can't even say that. But he was literally an angel. Anytime I was hungry, he's like, do you want me to go get you food? Anytime I was like, I want a snack, he's like, I'm gonna go to Walmart, what do you want? We live like 2 seconds away from Walmart. But still, I mean, I didn't want to go, so he did for me. And at the end of my pregnancy, my feet were hurting all the time. My feet didn't get swollen until I gave birth, but they hurt me all the time.
But to say the least, I definitely did try to help Ashley as much as I could. Of course, I was working a lot, but I definitely give a lot of praise and thank yous to my GM.
But he was very accommodating. So shout out to you, Walter. Thank you. And check out his channel too. Actually, we'll link it down below. We're going to talk a little bit about labor and delivery, that aspect of it all, which is a huge aspect of the pregnancy, giving birth to the human. He had a really, really good experience, luckily, with our labor and delivery and all that. But I honestly was going to go into labor earlier than I did. I was bouncing on a ball every day. I was doing everything they say, all the wives' tales, everything. Once I hit 37 weeks, which is what my OBGYN told me was okay for me to try doing stuff slowly, obviously not putting myself into labor any crazy ways, but naturally I'm bouncing on balls and doing a little more exercise, walking and whatnot. I did try to do all that stuff, didn't work out for me. My second to last appointment, she asked me if I wanted to get induced on my due date, and I was like, yes, I do, because nothing was working at that point.
Yeah.
I was like so frustrated. I was like, I am so ready to get this baby out.
Definitely frustration is one of the things you gotta look forward to, though, because as soon as you hit your 37 weeks, it's just, come on, we need this baby to come out. Frustration was definitely one of the biggest things we had to battle, just because we were ready to meet our baby boy.
Definitely. We got induced on my day, but the weird part was that night before I was having my first contraction. I had never had a contraction, like Braxton Hicks here and there, and I was like, this is a contraction. No, it's just Braxton Hicks. But the night before, all night I was having like mild contractions. That morning I woke up and I was like, no, there's something wrong here. I slept most of the day.
Tyler and I, Ashley's brother, we went to go to the casino. We played a couple of hours.
I went too, by the way.
Yeah, she did. It was scary because it was, I think, like 12 o'clock whenever that tornado siren hit.
Oh yeah, we had a tornado siren in the casino, and we were in like the non-smoking area of the casino because obviously I was pregnant. And then when we get downstairs, it was all like filled with people, and I could smell the smoke, and I was like, headache.
It was funny because we got to talk to a lot of people, and everybody's like, oh, when's your due date? And we're over here like, tomorrow.
And she's like, oh, I hope you don't have your baby here. I'm like, me too. That next day, I was in so much pain. I was like, I'm having contractions, and my mom was here, and I was like, Mom, like, I am having contractions, and I was like, I'm glad I'm going in today. So we were going to the hospital at 8 o'clock, and we check in, we get into our room, everything goes good. When we got there, I was literally only 3 centimeters, and I was like, I literally cannot believe I'm only 3 centimeters. I feel like I'm like 10 centimeters dilated right now.
Yeah.
And so I told Johnny before anything, I was like, if I'm gonna get an epidural, I want to be 5 centimeters dilated.
I'll tell you, she did go up until 5, and which we actually didn't know until afterwards. She just started, she couldn't bear the pain anymore. It can definitely be something very, very hard to go through, and in which I can't say I understand, but when I told Ashley, I was like, hey, I know we decided that you wanted to do it until 5, but if you feel this is your breaking point, this is where you need to do it, let's go ahead and do it. Let's call the anesthesiologist in to put that epidural in on you, and we'll go forward. And I mean, I think they told us that you were right at 5. So
she checked me before the anesthesiologist got there, and I was 5. So Johnny has to leave the room when they give the epidural, and that's just because it's very precise. It's in the nerve, obviously, so you have to be super careful.
Right.
And so by the time the anesthesiologist got there, I was progressing so much because they had already given me the Pitocin to speed up my contractions and everything. And so I was already at an 8 by the time he was giving me my epidural. And he's like, I really need you to stay still. I was like, I'm trying to stay still. And that nurse was super awesome. She literally held on to me like a bear because I was like, I'm gonna rip out my hair or someone else's hair. I don't know. And it was just a big old thing. Well, I mean, it wasn't a big old thing. I stayed still and he gave me the epidural. But probably took, what, a good 45 minutes?
No. Keep in mind, I think it was at least an hour. Because as soon as they told me, hey, you gotta step out of the room, I went ahead and called my sister from California. She's typically up very late anyways. Hey, hopefully you're not asleep. She's like, no. And so we started talking for a little bit, and I lost track of time, and I was like, man, we've been on the phone for an hour and they still haven't called me out. So I sent Ashley a message. I was like, hey, is everything good? I was like, can I go in? Did you guys forget about me? Or do we want me to sleep on the couch now? And yeah, they said it was just a longer process.
At the end of the day, it went good. I didn't feel anything. They didn't tell me about this button, so I thought my epidural was wearing off. But I guess you have a button you can press every 15 minutes if your epidural is wearing off. And so they didn't tell me about the dang button. And so I was like, I think I need another epidural. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, I don't feel anything. And I was like, I'm like feeling my contractions again. And she's like, well, do you press your button? I was like, nobody told me about a damn button. And so I pressed the button. I literally set an alarm on my phone for every 15 minutes and pressed the button every 15 minutes. And so by the time she came back in to check me, I was like completely numb up to here. And you're not supposed to be numb up to there. Yeah. You're only supposed to be numb like the lower part of your belly and down. And so they had to actually come take out my epidural, and the anesthesiologist was like, I'm gonna take it out, but on the plus side, you're literally not gonna feel anything. And so, I mean, I wasn't technically in labor for that long, just because they told me when I first got there that they could feel my amniotic sac. They just didn't want to pop it on their own because it was my first baby, so they didn't want to do that. And so by the time it was time for me to start pushing, like she saw how dilated I was, and she accidentally broke my sac. And it wasn't like a big old thing, it was just right there. So they were like, oh, well, you know, let's have a baby. I pushed for 13 minutes, and we had our beautiful baby boy at 8:24 a.m.
Yep.
Weighing 7 pounds, 5.5 ounces.
Yep.
And 21.5 inches. Or
Yep.
20.5? 20.5?
Yeah.
And his name is Gabriel Ezra Lopez.
That I do know.
Honestly, my nurses were great. Everything was great.
And I think that's the good thing. Whenever you're surrounded by people that, you know, are giving you wise words of encouragement, I think that's what makes the whole experience a lot more better or exciting, to say the least. I 100% loved our nurses that we have. I think they did a tremendous job. And they were just great people to talk to.
It was definitely a blessing, definitely an amazing experience.
Alright guys, well that's it for this segment today. As you can tell, Gabriel's still knocked out, but he says thank you guys for watching. As you know, we also say thanks to you guys. But if you guys enjoyed the video, remember, smash that like button down there. Let us know what you think and put that in that comment section.
If you haven't already, I realized that the subscribe button is actually down there. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join us on our next adventure on Living La Vida Lopez. Hasta luego.
Goodbye. Hasta luego.
印象的披萨。